wise man once said, to forget how to dig the soil, tend the earth, is to forget ourselves. Well, maybe some have, but a few of us still know. You gotta be willing to put in the time.
Hello and welcome along to this farm build video on Farming Simulator 22 on my PlayStation 5. My aim is to show that building farms on console is just as easy as on PC, albeit with some reduced features and less mods. But here we go. So I'm going to try and talk through what I'm doing. Here we have the Evergreen farm in the southeast corner of the Elmcreek map, and first of all I'm removing the trees and the buildings which are put there as a decoration. They're just a decoration, you can't use the buildings, so I've done this to make it a usable area. Here I am flattening the land. The land flattening can prove difficult at times. The road areas can't be flattened, and there are areas also that cause problems. Here, when I was trying to flatten for the house, I've had to do it several times to get the level just right to avoid an area that couldn't be flattened or raised or lowered or anything like that. Then I'm here removing some bushes that are part of the map which don't get replaced when you put things over the top of them. So the only way to get rid of them is to paint some grass or another plant over the top of them, and then they will disappear. But if you place a building over them, like a garage or something like that, then the plant will remain there and you'll still have to paint the land. This is a silo made by Missy B, the liquid, all liquid silo I think it's called, or something like that. I'll try and put a link to the mods, or I'll put a list of the mods in the description of the video that I've used, but I know this one is by Missy B. Here I'm just creating like a concrete wall and putting a safety barrier on. Stop people falling off, even though you don't get hurt in the game if you fall off something like that, but there you go, that's what a real farm would have, safety barrier. And again, I'm just texturing as best I can as I go along, just trying to make things easier later on. A little bee house I placed there. Now here the main farmhouse, so I placed this several times. I redid the video several times because, like I said before, the landscaping was just giving me so many issues. There's an area there that would not flatten. I put the hay barn down. I did replace this later on for the mod that came out that accepts hay bales. It doesn't make any difference, it looks exactly the same. Just in case I want to do a let's play or something on this farm build. Just trying to add some paths there, add a bit of texture to make it look more realistic. And here, making the yard flat for placing a building. Like I said before, you can see the road doesn't level, that stays there, so I've just tried to make it look as though it's cut into the bank. As you can see here, I'm trying to put the building parallel with the track. It's a bit difficult on PlayStation. I believe on PC it's a lot easier to rotate the buildings because you use the mouse. But on PlayStation it's just the shoulder buttons, so the increment could be better. Hopefully they'll improve the game and put some fine adjustment in on rotation. Those are the government subsidy signs that I just deleted there. That's how I put the money into the game. Otherwise, we would not be able to do this without having the funds available. So just cheat the money into the game at the beginning to create a bank balance that allows you to buy whatever you want, do whatever landscaping you want, because everything costs money. Just fencing off there. I've put the back fence along the edge of the furthest you can go for the map. The map actually goes a bit further, but the landscaping tool won't allow you to go any further than that. There are a couple of cheats that I show later on, and I'll try and remember to comment on them when I do. Putting a couple of gates in. When you're doing gates, you have to have a relatively flat area, so as you can see there, the gate wouldn't place initially because of the terrain being too steep. So I just flattened a little area to allow me to place the gate, and then rebuilt the fence and retextured it. Putting a little shed there again, flattening the areas. It's always best to flatten as best you can, trying to avoid changing the landscape too much. Keep it as much as the original location as possible. So here I'm just fencing off an area that I'm going to use later on as a chicken area, greenhouse shed, like a mini garden type area with a chicken pen in it. This is the old barn there. Just putting a bit of mud texture in under that gate as well. The land has a natural dip there, so I put a bit of mud texture in there. Now here, the sheep area, I put in the sheep pen, and I'm utilising the bits behind, which is technically the map edge. So I'm just flattening an area here before putting the sheep pen. As you can see, this gave me some flattening issues as well, because it's quite close to the tree, so the land wouldn't flatten there, so I've had to delete it and redo things to flatten the land level with the tree. So now I've put the sheep bit, the pen area is technically off the map, but it still functions perfectly well. You can't actually walk over there, but I've put the bit that you need to access on the map, so it's just utilising the space as best I can. And yeah, so there I've put the fence in and just texturing it. I've put an access gate, and as you can see, I've had to buy a little bit of extra land there to allow me to do the texturing, because you can't texture that close to the bit you don't own. Just putting an access road in there. You can do basically what you want, try and make it look as real as possible. I find that trying to get things too perfect doesn't really work. Because in nature, obviously, nothing is perfect. But that's my OCD coming out, trying to get buildings as straight as they can. There's the bit of mud I put in there. Okay, now just texturing around the house, trying to make a darker area under the house that you don't really see very much, but it's just put it there. I find that the best way to do it is to put in the grass texture first and then put the plants on, because obviously you put the texture on after the plants are there, it deletes the plants. There are some quirks to putting in the plants. The selection tool you can make bigger or smaller, but the default is a square, which puts quite a big patch of planting. I find that if I change it to the the circle on the smaller size, you can put in a lesser amount of plants. So I'm just putting a fence in around. You can only put fences so close to things that are already placed. There is a cheat, I say a cheat, but there's a way of getting the fences to interact with the actual buildings, which would involve doing the fence and then placing the building over the top. Because you can, if you press triangle when you're placing a building, you can put things over the top of other items, which you'll see later on. I do that quite often. But say you want the fence to intersect with the house and not have a gap, then you would place the fence, then delete the house, and then delete the bit of fence that you want to intersect and draw it a little bit longer, and then place the house on top. It's a shame that they've not put the overlapping function on the fence tools, which would make a lot of sense. As you can see there, every time that you try and put it too close to the building, it changes the building red. So I'm just going on, as I said before, just going along doing a bit of texturing. When you flatten land, it deletes the texture, deletes the plant, not the base texture, it deletes the plant. The smoothing tool just smooths the land out, it doesn't delete any texture, leaves the plants there. So that's the best way for if you've already textured. The ramping tool, the landscape ramping tool, will do that as well. It will delete down to the base texture, so you have to be careful. You will see later on I make an error when I'm placing the cow shed. I kind of overlap one of the fields, but it turns out that I needed that anyway, so it was a happy mistake, happy accident. Just smoothing out the entrance to the yard. You will find that if you've placed a fence, again here, this gate that I'm trying to put in here, I've had to raise the land you can see it's not letting me place it, so I just have to play around with the land until you get an area that will allow you to place it, and then smooth out as best you can afterwards. Now that particular area there, it turned out quite well. It's ended up as kind of like a ramped area up to the gate, and I painted it as concrete, so it was like a water stop water flowing down into the field, I guess. Again here, just playing around with the fence, trying to get it as best you can. Obviously you can place it and then delete items until you get it just how you want it. One technique here, I've put the gate on first the wrong way round to get the fence where I wanted it, and then delete it and go back, put the gate the right way round and fill in the fence panels. Just trying to copy the kind of style of the farm that was there originally, just kind of modernising it with some buildings and making it functional. Again there, the land had to be levelled so I could place that gate. At this point here though, the gate went on without any difficulty. Did some levelling here, because that area there was a bit steep for a road area, so I just smoothed that out a bit before putting a gate on there. Here I've decided that was where I wanted the fence, and then realised that the gate would not fit, so I've put the gate there and redone the fence to match. going around checking all the gates work, and then I drive around in the track to make sure that everything's drivable, accessible, and no massive holes in the floor or anything like that. Seem happy with that, so I'll just put the tractor away again. I'll move on to doing a slurry pit. So I'm just leveling this area again. That is as far as the landscaping tool will let me go. So there is ways of cheating that. If you find a tall building next to you, you can extend the landscaping tool off into the distance. It goes into the distance more if you're on a higher object. I'll show that more later on when I'm placing trees. Just putting a concrete area there. I mean, I've no idea if this is how things would be in real life, but it seems right to me. Just creating some path areas so you can get around if you want to climb in there. I don't know who would want to climb in one of them, but there you go. Again, there's a texture area, a landscape area, I mean, that it could not be raised, so I was just trying to play with that, but it didn't work, so I just covered it up with some grass. Putting some textures in now, some bushes around the house. Ah yes, the bees need a location for honey, so I've put that inside that shed. That was the overlapping thing that I was telling you about before. And here I'm placing the chickens, so using the same technique I did with the sheep pen, putting the pen area outside the fence. This pen was also giving me difficulty with landscaping. As you can see, it's not wanting to go down, so trying to flatten the area. You cannot flatten when a fence is there either, so you have to be wary of that. And that area there was the tree was causing a problem, so I've had to flatten it more or less the level where the tree roots are. And that is more or less it. It's still a bit lumpy there, but you know, cover it up with a bit of grass and nobody's any the wiser. Again, that's the cheat there. When I was putting the grass, I couldn't texture past the fence, so I put the camera above the barn and it let the texturing tool go further than normal. Just putting the fence back in and put some chickens in for good measure. I do give them some food later on, so they're not going to die. So just having a walk down to this area near the water tower. I think this is where the cow barn is going to go, so just trying to see how it will fit and go and get the forestry equipment to get rid of the trees that's in the way. Now this area gave me quite a problem regarding tree stumps. That tree in particular there would not go. The tree's gone, but there is a tree root that would not go. And the first tree I cut down there has left a load on there, so I have to get rid of that as well. Flattened out the area as best I can. Get rid of the tree root there, bits of wood that's left behind. Trees are quite buggy at the moment. Hopefully there'll be an update to the game at some point soon. Yeah, so I'll flatten the area again, put the barn on and find that the ground is sticking up in the side. Delete it and realise there's the tree root, so I'll go and get the other stump grinder, and there's a lump in the ground there that will not go. I go over it as best I can, flatten, try and raise the ground, lower the ground, will not go, that lump. flatten it to what I think is the right height for that lump. Put the cow barn on and still land inside the barn. Repeat the process. Flatten again to that height. Put the cow barn on again. Sticking up out of the ground. So it's too high. So delete it, level it back down to that road surface area, and hopefully this is the last time. Put the cow barn on, sticking up in the air, no. Delete it again, flatten the area one more time. I don't know if you can see there, but the technique I'm using again there is to put the fence of the cow barn right up against the map edge. So I can't go any texture any further than that. If you see there on the grass, there's not a way of doing it. But if you use the water tower that is there, if you walk up to the bottom of the water tower and then go into landscape mode, it puts the camera right on top of the tower so you can see way off into the distance. I think I'll show it here at some point soon. As you can see there, that's the area that I made a mistake on with the flattening tool. It's gone over into the field, so that is now just a textured area, not part of the field anymore, which like I said before, happens to be an area that I need to use anyway, so I'll show you that later. So here I'm just texturing around bits, putting some access roads. Again, there that's as far as you can go with the texturing on that area, even though you could walk a bit further down there. The texturing tool won't actually go as far as you can walk for some reason. Just putting some concrete slab in there. Again, putting the grass texture on. It's all to do with how it's painted because of how far you can go. So to get the grass area to go back where it should be, you have to first paint your concrete on and then put your grass texture over and then paint the plants on. As you can see, something went wrong there again. We've got land inside the cow barn again, so I deleted the cow barn and painted concrete where it should be, flattened everything again in that area and put the cow barn on. I think I put it in a slightly different place there and it's fixed. Smoothing things out there, put some grass on. Obviously it's overlapped the concrete again, so I have to redo the concrete. Just to try and get it as best I want. I do overlap this later with some silage clamps as well, so obviously this is all a bit of a wasted effort. But as you can see there, everything seems to be working. Now this area here, this road goes off into the distance, but you can't go any further than that point there, more or less. So I've decided that I would put in some road barriers to make it look like it's less accessible. That is a liquid drain that I've put in there. Decided to put a windmill in. Again, that's technique there. I was using the sitting on top of a building and angling the camera so that you could put the object further than you can actually access with the landscaping tool. Now this item I put in here is from a farm pack that's just come out, so again check the description for the names of the mods, but I just landscaped that area again up to the road. placed in the barn. Or if you saw, it was not landscaping flat because of the fence locations of that, but when you actually put the barn in, it barn or garage I think it's called actually, it actually flattened the land underneath it better than you could actually do with the landscaping tool. So just try things, you know, put things where you think they're gonna go. You can always delete the item and re-landscape, so it's not that big a deal, but I would always save the game before you do any landscaping, just in case you don't like what's happened, and then you can just reload the game for major changes, that is. Small things like flattening and things like that, but it's always good practice to save your game before you do anything like that, because there is no undo. Okay, just putting some trees in there, bit of bushes. Yep, so I was just doing a bit of landscaping here, just trying to make it look like it's actually been nature invaded. Bit of grass in. When you're planting trees and bushes and that, they can overlap through building walls, so you have to look at what you've done just to make sure. There's a variety of trees available. They do vary on the maps as well, as I've found out, and you can actually plant trees with using a planter. So the trees that are not available on your map, they may be available in a using a tree planter. And you don't need to cultivate the land or anything. You can just get a pallet loaded up on the tree planter and put the tree in where you want it, as long as you can access the land. Here's that trick I was showing you about you using the tall building to put things, trees and things, or landscaping where you can't reach. You get up high and the landscaping tool will let you go further. Now that tree there I don't like because it's overlapping the path, but it would require a mulcher to get rid of that, because you can't cut it with a chainsaw. I think it's the dogwood or something like that it's called. The dogwood trees you can't cut down with your chainsaw. I think the only thing that will get rid of them is a mulcher. So just doing some final texturing on the farm, putting some trees and things in. My partner says I've put the trees too close to the house, as they'll break the house as they grow. But we will see in the future, I guess. So again, yeah, texturing there can only go so far. I've just placed the weather station there on top of the building. If you put things too close to a building, it'll say intersects with the item, it's overlapping. It won't let you place it, but if you press triangle, it will let you overlap things. So if you go above a building with, say, a windmill or something like that, you can actually put it on the roof. I do that with a light later on as well. On the silo, I put a light fixture on top of the outlet pipe using the overlap function. So placing trees around the map, make it look more natural. Again here, putting the trees off the edge of the map was proving difficult. That's as far as the landscaping tool will go, but there I've gone on top of the grain mill to allow me to place trees further over. Yeah, that was not a problem there. A lot of the places you can do it, but that on top of the Elmcreek water tower there, finishing off a little path from the house. So as you can see, I'm just putting landscaping in wherever it needs. This area here I'm going to put the fuel tank, so I drew a fence in without it overlapping as best I can, see what sort of position it needs to be, and then deleted it and redid it to fit, and then put the tank in afterwards. I found that if you put the fence in first and then overlap the tank, it works. But like I said before, the fence tool does not allow overlapping, so that's the only way to do it and get it close to the tank. Bit of landscaping there, like I said before, you can landscape it flat, and then but not completely flat. And then when you put the item in, it landscapes the bit it needs. And then you can just smooth it out afterwards. Put on a bit of texture. And these were part of a lumber sawmill pack on the mods. I just thought that would fill up that space nicely. Putting some lights around the farm, just to light up the farmyard. This is the one that overlaps the silo there, look, so I'm just putting it in as best I can, and then just use the overlap tool and bang, in it goes. And same around the house there, I was struggling. You can get them on the house or on the fence. If it's overlapping, just press the triangle tool and it lets you put them. Alright, on there, that'll to overlap as well. Charging station for electric tractors. I realise there's only one electric tractor in the game at the moment. Put 2 charging stations in. This is part of the Sawmills pack again as well. I'm just trying to make that area down there look a bit more used. Again, using that technique of sitting on top of a building to do the texturing further down. That's as far as you can go there, you see. Okay, put the sawmill pack. These are just decorative items, just to fill up that area. Yeah, those two don't actually go together, so I've changed that for a different one, and overlapping that to make it fit. I had to buy a bit of extra land there because it wouldn't fit. Just texture to fit. Difficulty doing textures around trees because they're always in the way. Makes it difficult to see what you're doing. We could really do with there's a mod that was on FS19 called Disable Camera Collision. We really do with that mod on this. It would make things a lot easier. Okay, I placed the greenhouse there again. I've had to delete it and level the land and then place it again, and then redo the road that I put in, because if the tractor goes down that road it will break the glass on the greenhouse. So redoing that, and a texture inside the barn as well. Using the forest floor texture. Planting grass in where you need it. Some roads in. Muddy tracks. Every farm has muddy tracks. And here we go, putting in the silage clamps. When I went back later on, I noticed that the rearmost one is not actually flat on the ground, but the plant texturing covers it up. You don't actually see it. So I'm just playing around with how I want it to look there, how it would be used in real life. Obviously that tree is right in the way there. Probably should have removed that tree as well. If I was going to use this as a farm I was going to play on, then I would get rid of that tree, because that, when I tried putting a truck in there, a trailer, reversing a trailer in there, it's right in the way of that tree. So probably doing that. So once I've done this, I think I get round to just filling the farm up with vehicles and things, and then doing a finished view. Oh no, some fencing to do. Ah yeah, so I remember now, yeah. I did this again using that technique, sitting on top of the silo bin, so it allows me to put the fence further than it would normally in a normal view. Just delete that bit because it was a bit interfering with the tree. There we go. Again, putting a bit of texture in, put a gate in there. Bit of texturing for a track. It's sitting on top of the silo bin to allow me to put that texture down there. More or less an access road for that windmill. And the last thing here is to put in some olive groves. I think traditionally olive groves go on land that can't be used for arable farming, so I thought this field would be a good place to put them. I haven't actually tested the olive farming equipment, you know, the harvesting equipment on the area around the telegraph poles, so obviously you would have to check that as you go along. I've not actually done any farming on olives, so it's something that I'll have to try. I know you just paint them on like this, but I don't know if this is all you need to do. Maybe the land should have been ploughed first, so I'm not sure. Having some struggles there getting the last bit filled in, so I had to delete some and redo them. Okay, here we go with the flyby, drive-by, final reveal using a John Deere Gator. Here we go into the first area, which is the sheep area. I've got sheep in there, some hay bales, down through the olive groves. So I hope you like what I've done. I am planning to do more of these farm builds on maps as they become available. At the moment there is just the base game maps, Elmcreek, Bavarian and Erlengrad. There is also the No Man's Land map available. I know on PC there is a multitude of maps available already. I don't think they're through the mod hub though, they're through third-party websites from the actual mod makers websites, but some will be coming to the mod hub after Giants get them on there for after their Christmas break. So here as you can see, I've filled up the farm with some vehicles and equipment, and just have a drive around and show you how it looks. Filled up the cow barn. So I put some cows in there, some feed. So the animal pens have their own water supply, or at least the ones with buildings do. The ones that just have a fence area only have food troughs, and you have to supply water to them yourself. This hayloft here is the modded one now. I swapped it out, but you can see it just looks exactly the same. It's the one that accepts bales. So let's just park this Gator up in the garage and we'll go and close all the gates. Here's nightfall. Didn't put too many lights on. I just wanted to put them around the house area and a few in the yard. Barns have their own lighting anyway. This vehicle garage here is confusing me because I'm pretty sure there's lights in there, but I couldn't get them to turn on. That one there's got an automatic light. Here you can see the light that I put on overlapping works perfectly well. Use my torch to go around this dark bit. And here we are, the sheep area. As you can see, they've got infrared heating lights. Keep them warm at night, although they seem to be on all day. Flyby overhead. The only way to do is flybys on console is using the build mode. I know on PC they have the ability to fly on the map, so this is the only way you can do it on console. There you go. And then we'll have a flyby at daytime. So we've reached the end of my very first video. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and if you'd like to see more of this type of content, please do subscribe to my channel. Any suggestions you have, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to reply to you. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.